guys, ILene Vick here for Teaching Adult Coloring with ILene Vick. It is Saturday, September 4th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am live. Glad to be here for you. Come on in. We got lots of projects to work on, lots of chat to have. And it's really good to see everybody. All right. Welcome to my Facebook peeps who pop in and chat. And welcome to my Facebook peeps that lurk and watch. Either way, I'm very, very glad to have you here. And welcome to my YouTube viewers. So glad you're watching my videos. Please like and share them. That would be most appreciated. All right, so I've got several projects here now that I've been working on. And we'll see what we can get into. Alrighty. So this is a project that I've been doing off camera, basically playing around with it. I've mostly been using alcohol markers. And I use that on the flowers here. And then I use pen on top to make the decoration. So that's been a pretty fun piece to do. All right. So I thought maybe I'd go ahead and piddle around with this a little bit just to show you. And as always, if you would do me a favor and say hello when you come in, that would be great. That way I know that everything is working. Facebook gets a little wonky sometimes. La da 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 da. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a bird here that I did in alcohol marker, and I want to go ahead and blend that up a little bit. So this is where I would go ahead and use pencil right on top. This is a Castle Art Soft Touch 047. Now, unfortunately, we can't get rid of the black mark. We're stuck with that. But we can go ahead and use the pencil and make that ragged look that we want in the feathers. Let me just change up my light just a little bit. Hi Mary, how are you? Good to see ya. Now I'm doubling out that black line as much as I can to blend in that color, so that's right on top of alcohol marker. So don't be afraid to use your alcohol markers with your, your pencils with your alcohol markers. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. This is my Master Warm Red. Oh, you went treasure hunting at yard sales today. Cool. Did you find anything fun for coloring? Maybe a little add-on stuff? Hey Rhonda, hello. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze, excuse me. Oh, well, happy Saturday right back at you. So again, I'm going ahead and marking that blender. Oh, four drawer plastic storage container full for $10. Oh, cool. What was it full of? Oh. Crafting and Mary Kay stuff. Oh, how cool. Yeah, I would think that yard sales may kind of be winding down. I don't know. August, September. I don't know, maybe not. Weather's still decent. Okay, so I want you to see now how I'm blending all new. Oh my gosh. Okay, so again, this is my piece. This is 100 Beautiful Birds by Coloring Book Cafe. It is so funny how you can see the outline because you can tell where I didn't use alcohol marker. So I used the alcohol marker on the top here, and now I'm going ahead and using pencil from that point on, and this is where we can start doing our blending. How pretty. And I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, plus the four, so all the stuff that was in it and the containers. So remember last night on the tiger, I showed you this Faber-Castell. This is the ivory color. So I'm going ahead and using that instead of just leaving that white. Oh my gosh, I'm just so intent on breaking my points, aren't I? Good grief. Zoom in. Zoom in. Now I've got the blue mixing with the pencil. So that we have a nice soft color here. And don't forget, when you've got something like this, you want to go ahead and zoom in. Use your black pen. To get that eye looking a lot brighter. So please don't forget that. Oh, and Mary says she got a 20-jar spice rack on a turnstile for $5. We'll use that for embossing powder and glitter. Oh, cool. Hit those yard sales, people. All right, zoom out. Zoom out. Now I went through and I used my black pen on the tips of the wings. Zoom out. And I think we've got some really good looking birds there. All right. So now I'm gonna, so Mary says jump start on Christmas with the Mary Kay bags and the jewelry. Oh my gosh, you better believe it. Okay, I'm gonna play around with the bird house. And this is my Brett Funner 075 brown. And I'm going to work on my edges here. Now, these are the sides of the birdhouse here. Hi, Sandy. Now remember, I'd gone through and I went through with my slice knife, that's a brand, Slice. And I went ahead and I made my cuts in the paper, my etchings. And then I went through with my Faber-Castell chalks. So now I'm going through and I want to add the colors to the front of my piece. Well, not just the front, but to the sides and the front. And to start to get in that dimension that we like. Now, what I want you to notice for visual effect is as I color my outside edges, I'm going ahead and doing it in a circular pattern. Roughly. And look how that's adding visual interest to the piece. So see, because of the way I'm coloring it, I'm creating a circle around the entranceway. So there is always fun little stuff that you can do to your pieces to do things like this. Everybody see how I'm getting that? Okay. And I also want you to notice too, zoom in, that as I'm going along, I'm adding patina to the wood. Which means I'm going ahead and putting like little swirls in it. And I'll go ahead and shadow around the bird just a little bit. All right. And remember, I'm not coloring in dark the first go around. Now I'm going through and I'm darkening the areas that I want to go ahead and darken. That's why you got to come in light the first time that you do this. And we've talked a lot about that. Now, do you have to put swirl marks in something like this? No, of course not. But I just want to give you ideas for your coloring. Okay. Now these are the ends of the wood here from the sides. So we can go ahead and go through and give that some coloration as well. And I'm still using my Brett Funner 075 for this. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this gap just a little bit darker. And the thing is, we can't really shadow this by going just one side or the other because the wood butts up against each other. So what we're showing here is just wear on the wood, where it comes together. Everybody see that difference? And in fact, to really drive home the fact that this is flat, you can go ahead and color in a circle. See this? How I'm doing that? Hello, Rita from Guatemala. So in this particular case, we need to be careful because these pieces of wood are flush. Oh, you just got a call from Guatemala. How cool is that? How is everybody in Guatemala, Rita? All right, is everybody clear about what I'm saying about these wood pieces? So let's go ahead and darken in our edges just a little bit. Doing good, but the virus is bad. Oh, man. So what's the issue? People are not taking their COVID shots, or not availability in Guatemala? Now I'm going back over some of my slice areas to go ahead and give us that dimension and depth. And guys, this is particularly important that you get your blending down because you don't want your edges sticking out like a sore thumb. See how I'm emphasizing this V? Look how cool that looks, guys. How pretty is that? Now, I've told you a bazillion times that wood is very forgiving when you're coloring. So wood is a very, very good practice piece. So Rita says available to people but limited. Okay, healthcare limited and very expensive at this time. Okay. So in Guatemala, they have to pay for their own and pay for the COVID shot. Okay. Zoom out. Zoom out. Isn't that pretty? Rhonda, what are you working on tonight? You're kind of quiet. Okay, now we're going to take our chicory coffee Brett Funner from the 520 colors, and this is color number 36. It's a darker color, darker brown. And I'm going to go ahead and darken the birdhouse joints. So I'm going to scuff it up a little bit. Rids and mice determined to go bold. Birds and mice. Okay, now the one area that we can go ahead and put that darker shading is the roof, right? Hello, Stephanie. Stephanie. Oh gosh, guys, look how pretty that is. Isn't that cool? Now, we have an interesting situation here. We have this overhang, but we're not looking directly at it. It's on the side, right? Let me turn this. So the shade underneath is not going to be necessarily as dark as right under the joint of the roof. Everybody see that? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come in just a little bit lighter. With my darker brown. Does everybody see why I'm doing that? So our darker parts under the roof, I've darkened the joints. Now, be careful that you don't darken your joints exactly the same way. You want to darken them, but you want to be different. So we'll go ahead and do it this way. How pretty is that? So again, notice that I'm emphasizing the circle on the door. Do you have to do that? No. But it sure makes for interesting visualizations. And I'm going to go ahead and darken just a little bit on the bottom. Questions, comments? One more step. After I smooth this out a little bit. I'm going to take my Black Beauty pencil. This is the K1 out of my 520 Brett Funner. And I'm going to go right up underneath this roof. Now, again, our overhang basically stops. Our direct overhang basically stops right here, right? Because we've got distance here. So that's why I didn't make this brown as dark when I shadowed it. But now what I'm doing, and I want you to see the difference, is I'm running just a little bit of black right directly underneath the roof. Can you see how that's enriching the color? Zoom in. It's a very, very subtle addition. And this is one of those things that when your viewer looks at your piece, they're not going to know that you put that extra black there. All they're going to see is a very dark and intense shading. Questions, comments? And it's just a cool little addition that really pops your piece. Here you go. Isn't that pretty? Zoom out. Okay. Now on the inside here, I'm going to add some nesting material. Zoom in. We'll see how this turns out. This might be one of those seem like a good idea at the time. So I'm going to add a little bit of in pencil, and very lightly, because you don't want that pencil to cut any grooves into your paper. Now, if you really want to play with this, you take your Arteza white gel pen, and I've got to let that dry. zoom in. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of that straw material sticking out the door. Okay. So I have to let that white dry a little bit. And I'm going to take my Brett Funner 082 and we'll go ahead and start coloring in some of this straw. Now I'm going to go ahead and use two browns, so I'm going to grab my Brett Funner 075 because I want a different color. Be sure that you cover up all your pencil. And this is where I let some of that straw fall out the door. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm just going to go in between a couple of the pieces, just a little bit. Just so that we can break up those colors. Zoom out. Not too bad. Now, if you're not comfortable with drawing in the stuff first, just go ahead and color in some lines. There you go. Not too shabby. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean my door here. And my inside. Questions or comments about what I just did? Like, dislike, would do, would not do? Okay, I'm going to use what's called a chocolate plum. And we're going to go ahead and shade up that door. So I'm going to make it darker at the top so we're seeing that dimension, and then we'll come along and highlight the roundness. Blender pencil to smooth that out because that's pretty rough, isn't it? And then I'm going to use my Black Beauty, zoom in, and I'm going to darken that convergence point. And I'm going to bring that shade down just a little bit on the outside, not much. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. What do you think? Okay. And inside the door, zoom in, zoom in. Inside the door, I'll go ahead and use the gray. And this happens to be a smoke gray from Ortega A107. And then I'm going to come in with a slightly darker gray. Not that one. This is a cool gray deep Starjoy 119. And I'm just going to go ahead and tint that outside and then blend it in. Questions, comments, like, don't like. We'll try it, won't try it. And I'm just going to smooth that out just a little bit with my blender pencil. Zoom out. All right, let's go ahead and get this roof taken care of. Now, I can do a little more with the roof here. I'm using my Cool Gray Deep, which is the Starjoy 119. And now I'm going to go ahead and gussy up our roof. And if somebody would do me a favor and just say hi or hello or just something like that, I just want to check my comments and make sure we're okay there. Rhonda, do me a favor and say something. The last comment that I saw was Rita Joyce. She said cool. And then it says Rhonda Joyce is, or Rhonda Green is watching. And I haven't seen anything past that. Okay, I don't think I'm seeing comments, guys. Okay, Wanda says you guys are commenting. I'm not seeing anything. Hi, Wanda. I know you guys can be quiet some nights, but didn't think it'd be this quiet. Okay, guys, I'm going to pop off, pop back on again. So give me about 3 minutes, if that, and I will be back momentarily. All right, guys, back in a few. Zoom in. So I'm continuing, I'm back now, and I'm continuing. This happens every once in a while with Facebook, is the people will be commenting and I can't see it. So I have to interrupt the broadcast. So thank you for your patience. Hey, Rhonda. And I see your comment. Hello, ILene. Well, hello right back at you, Rhonda. That is so annoying when Facebook does that, I'll tell you. Okay, now I want you to notice, guys, too, is I'm taking my Cool Gray Deep. Rhonda, do me a favor and say a couple more things just so I know that I can still see it. And I'm just going to go ahead and edge on the inside here. Hi, Wanda. Okay, gotcha. So Wanda, if I don't welcome you and go, Wendy. Oh, Rhonda said I had commented on how wonderful the birds and music sounded tonight. Okay, cool. Yeah, if I don't paraphrase comments, guys, it's because I'm not seeing it. See, what happens is when this goes up to YouTube, YouTube, my YouTube peeps don't see the comments. They just see the video. And that's why a lot of times I'll repeat what you said. And Wanda, you know I always say hello unless I miss you. Wandy! Okay, blend your pencil. So I'm using my lighter gray now. Hi, Rita. My smoke gray A107. And we'll go ahead and blend this in just a little bit. And then I'm going to use, oh, you'd only been here a couple of minutes? Okay, Wanda, good. So I'll use my cool gray deep. And we want the area under the roof just to be a little darker, okay? Okay, so I'm going to keep the roof pretty simple. So what did you guys think of the nesting material in the birdhouse? Did you have any thoughts about that? Like it, don't like it? Would try it, won't try it? So Mary said I also got, let's see, a wallpaper sampler book for $2. Yes, from 1981. Some really cool prints to add to coloring books. All right, hold on here. Also 60 different styles. Oh my gosh, you really scored in that garage sale. Now again, notice how I put a nice little shade on the inside of the door with the lighter gray here. And that's just indicating now that the inside here of our nest is darker. Okay. So my Star Joyette Cool Gray Deep, which is the one that I'm using. Now remember, this is where I use my slice knife, so I'm enhancing it even further. All right, Sandy, hello. Now, the way that I'm coloring this bird's nest here, or bird house, is I'm basically assuming that this is one that maybe was used from last season or a previous season. And that's why we've got the rough colors, okay? If you want your birdhouse to look, you know, brand spanking new, that's cool too. Zoom out. Now, I want you guys to invest in using black a little more. I've been easing you into it. And I'm going to use my Black Beauty again, which is black. And this is my Brett Funner. And I'm going to go ahead, zoom in. Zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and use it now on my edges. And a little bit on my corners. Now, guys, this is so subtle, it really is. Now, you don't want any streaky lines, so you've got to, you know, work it in a little bit. So you'll be a little darker on your black on the outside, and then just work it in a little bit. And what I'm also going to do too is I'm going to darken the area underneath my roof here. And the reason that I'm doing that is that you want to be very, very clear that this is an underside of the birdhouse. Otherwise, you're going to create a weird optical illusion. So I'm just making it a shade darker here. But notice that I'm not filling it in completely with the black, okay? You've got to let your other grays show through. Oh yeah, we're good. And remember, when you come in with your black, you come in very, very lightly. So when you're off that line, when you're no longer highlighting that line, right now I'm highlighting the line. And then when I come in, I'm using barely any pressure on here because it's black. Make sure that you understand that. And then I'm just going to smush it with my finger here. Zoom out. Questions, comments? Not too bad. And again, guys, this was something that I was just playing with off camera. And so I just wanted to show you the way I was finishing it up. Zoom out. Pull you up. All right. Let me just hit the bottom real quick. Zoom in. Zoom in. And guys, when I say real quick, I don't mean that I'm going to rush through this. What I mean is that it's just something that I'm finishing up. I'm still using my Black Beauty yet. Hello, Dorothy. Thank you. I'm glad you think it's very pretty. Appreciate your comment. Now, if you don't want to use the black on the gray, you could use something like your brown. But obviously I wanted a different color than what I did the birdhouse in. Dorothy, good to see you. Hey Dorothy, do me a favor, just when you type my name, use a capital L, because I see it better. Just the capital I, capital L. Okay, and then I'm just going to blend that with my finger. And we are good to go. Zoom out. Now I wanted to show you, I did these colors on the flowers with markers, and then I used pen. So I used orange pen on this flower, for example. I used pink pen on this one, blue on this one, same here, black over here. So that was just a different way to differentiate. Now, real quick, zoom in. So Dorothy, what are you working on tonight? I'm just touching my leaves with my black pencil. And guys, oh my gosh, you've got to be so light with this. Butterfly kisses with this one. I'm just swiping at it very lightly, hardly touching it. Dorothy, I think you were working on a mandala the other night. And all I'm doing right now is I'm just tinting these leaves just to be a little bit darker, to fit in. Or you just finished a picture and haven't decided what to do next. Okay. So again, I'm just tinting my brown leaves with a little bit of black. Zoom out. Zoom out. And Rhonda's back. Woohoo! Good, 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 good. And one last touch, and then I'm going to move on to a different project. Is I'm going to use a dark green accent on my flower stems. You're thinking about a grayscale. Cool. Dorothy, you need to start posting your stuff. I don't think you've done a grayscale before, have you? Zoom in. So I'm going to use my Brett Funner 130. It's a darker green. And I can't emphasize this enough. Oh, you've done a couple. Okay. My bad. Sorry about that. Look at the difference, guys, that you get on your pieces. Instead of just coloring with a plain green, I'm going ahead and I'm edging one side of this. And what a difference. And you just have to touch it a little bit. Nothing fancy. Well, Dorothy, I'd love to see another grayscale out of you then. Now, notice how I broke the green line here, left a gap, and coming back to it. Much better. Zoom out. Zoom out. And the last thing I would do, which I'm not going to do right now, is I'm going to work on shading in between my flowers a little bit, because the blue would be darker, so I'll be using a blue. And I'll be using a blue also in between the flowers down here, and that's going to give me some really beautiful depth on the whole thing. I'll probably use chalk when I do it, and I will wait until tomorrow night to show you that. Unless you guys want to see it now. Let me know. Do you want me to see? Do you want me to do it now? Give me a yes or a no while I grab some water. Okay. So no thoughts either way, guys? All right. I'll wait until tomorrow night. And Wanda, if you'll go ahead and say something for me, or just something, anybody, just to make sure we don't have stalled comments again. The last comments I saw was Rita, be right back, and Rhonda Green is watching. Oh, too much trouble. Now, something neat that I want to show you, and I'm not seeing comments. Oh, there we go. I think Wanda's was the last. Okay. This ivory color, which I absolutely love. You can go ahead and put over your birdhouse, and that's really going to smooth out your browns. So, do you guys want me to darken up the blue around the outside? What would you like me to do? If somebody will let me know. The last comment I saw was Dorothy said, yes, I've done a couple. Rita said, be right back. And Rhonda, you just said, I think Wanda's was the last. Now guys, this is why blending is so important, is because you want your piece to look soft, and I'm using the side of my pencil with my finger on top. Okay, I have a feeling that I'm not seeing comments again. So Wanda, if you're commenting, I'm not seeing it. Okay, everybody see? What? You can't see me? Okay, there I can see Wanda. Okay, so do you guys want me to do the darker blue around the flowers tonight, or do you want me to switch projects? If somebody would let me know, that would be great. Alright, now I'm going to use my cream color while I'm waiting for you guys to tell me. So I'm not using white, I'm not using a blending pencil. I'm using the cream. Excuse me, ivory. And this is my Faber-Castell ivory. Alright, I'll switch projects. And I'll go ahead and work on the blue tomorrow night. Everybody see how smooth that birdhouse got because I put the ivory on top of it. Ivory pencil. Okay, here's my tiger. I'm debating if I should reboot again because I'm not seeing very many comments on that. Bummer. Okay, so I've got my Brett Funner 082. Oh, there's Mary. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the entire section in a color instead of doing the individual pieces. And we've talked about this before. Zoom in. And if you have a design that doesn't really fit with doing individual parts of it, like this one here, then do your color over. Zoom in. Now, the reason that I'm putting my brown on my outside is I want to roughly mirror what I did with the tiger on his face. And there's a reason for that. That's continuity. That's something then that the observer can look at and will notice. They don't necessarily know that they're noticing it. Now, as I mentioned last night, there are some instances where you want to go ahead and not worry about, you know, 3 and 4 colors, but I am going to now come in with my darker Brett Funner 075, and I'm going to go ahead and shade on the inside of my tiger. Zoom out. And I want you to notice now how that's giving it a depth, of course. Now, on this back part, I'm going to go ahead and shade on both sides, and what that's going to do is pop up that center, and that's exactly what I want. Everybody see now how we're getting that bulging effect. Now, I'm not going to do it as I come forward because I've got all these rough edges. So we'll just go ahead and let that be shaded on one side. All right. Same idea now. Move my camera just a little bit. There we go. Same idea now with all this area. Is I'm going to go back with my color, my 082. And again, please do not feel compelled to color in every little nook and cranny. Zoom in. And this is why I always recommend when you're doing your piece is to do those main portions that identify what's going on with it. So if you know, for example, that you're going to make this tiger orange, then that's where you may want to start to get your main body portions done. And then you can go ahead and start adding your extra pieces. All right. Now this plant is a little rougher than what I want, so I'm going to go ahead and blend that in. Blender pencil. I just forgot to blend that before. Oh, pretty. And now I'm going to go back with my darker Brett Funner, which is my 075. And same thing that I did with the bottom is I'm going to go ahead and shade this, the edges, and that's going to pop the center of this up. going to go ahead and add that on the other side here as well. And you'll see the effect when I pull out. How pretty is that? Okay, now back to my black beauty pencil. Zoom out. Now everybody see the pop that we've got on here, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and come in with my black right on that edge. And what I want you to see now, how that really comes up. Isn't that dynamic? Everybody see the difference now between this one piece and my other ones? It's coming right at you. And if you do it right, the observer's not really going to notice that that's black. They're just going to see it as a shadow. And that's what we want. Remember guys, when you color, you don't want the person seeing really how you did the piece. What you want the person to see is the end result. Zoom out. See it? Now I'm going to pop over to this other side where I've got the same brown. That was my Brett Funner 082. And then I'm going to take my Brett Funner 075, same steps. Zoom in, zoom in, and I'm going to go ahead and add that little bit of shading, brown shading, on the outside to start. And then I'm going to go ahead now with my Black Beauty. And put that color in there. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have any opinion on that. The last comment I saw was Mary Blankenship that said pretty. Okay, now I want to show you something on these roses. I've got one more little patch to do here. But I'm going to go through, and now I'm going to define my edges of my roses. And this is where your rose is going to absolutely pop. Isn't that pretty? Anybody have any questions about how this effect looks? Zoom out. Look at the difference now between this rose and these other ones. Beautiful, beautiful dimension. And again, if you're commenting, I can't see it. Look at the depth that you get. Zoom in. All right, let's play with the other rose a little bit. Same idea. And all you have to do is pop in a little bit of black around the outside. Hi, Maddie. Everybody see now how that center is really popping out? And I'm just going to smudge that just a little bit, not much. And again, guys, if you're commenting, I'm not seeing it. Sorry. I can reboot again. If somebody wants to text me, I'll reboot. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, Wanda says you guys are commenting. Now, I want you to add this black with a very, very light touch. Zoom in. And the other thing I want you to notice, and I did it here, is I put in my black line and then I brought out a little bit black smudge on the petal itself. So there's basically two steps to this, because when you bring out that black smudge, that really makes it look like there's depth on it. See how I'm doing that? Now, don't get carried away with it. You just need just a little bit. And I'm barely touching pencil to paper. All right, let's take a look at this now. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Look at that. Does that not look gorgeous? And look at the difference now between these two and these two roses. Zoom in. Okay guys, I'm going to reboot again because I really would like to see your comments. So we'll try this again because we've got an hour to go yet. So all of you come on back. and I'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, guys. Back in a few. Okay, I'm back again. Oh, yeah. I'll just keep trying. Zoom in. Hi, Maddie. Hopefully I can see comments. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to pick up the shading on this rose now. And I have a feeling that we're still going to have problems. I keep saying Maddie Gentle is watching, but I'm not seeing comments, so I'm just going to continue. So go ahead and comment to each other, please, because I'll go back through and I'll read the comments when I go ahead to upload the video. Oh, I saw, oh, Rhonda, I may be able to see you. I saw that face go by. Now, when I colored this rose in here, oh, Maddie says, I think the tiger is gorgeous. Okay. I'm so PO'd right now, it's just unbelievable. So guys, send me some love. Okay, so here's our rose right here. Ah, thank you, Maddie. And again, don't forget to add just very, very light with your black. I mean, barely touching. Add a little bit of that black coloring to the outside of the rose and it'll look gorgeous. Again, guys, look at the shading right here that comes out on the petal. Isn't that pretty? Hi, Stephanie. Okay. So let me do this last rose. I'm telling you guys, we're almost done with this. And Maddie, by the way, thank you for giving me permission to color on your photographs, because there's 3 of them that I really love. 2 up close of the flowers and the one of the beach with the red pail. I'll color those up. Oh, Wanda, there you are. I can see you. I'm going out and reboot everything and see if it changes on my end. Okay. Yeah, completely go out of the Facebook app. Okay. Zoom out. Isn't that beautiful, guys? How many of you have colored your roses like this? And if this is something new to you, enjoy it. Okay, I'm just going to smooth out some of this. So Rhonda Green says, I will the next time I do roses. Okay, good. That wreath that I'm doing, there's 4 roses on that, so I'll be repeating this on those. Okay, and I'm just blending out my leaves to make sure that they're basically blended and smooth. All right, 2 more little segments, and basically I would say that we're done. Sandy says, ILene, I'm working on a black background like you did on the flower pick you did. Oh, wonderful, Sandy. Guys, don't be afraid of black, please. I've got a little leaf stem I never did. Hold on, let me put in my color here. There we go. Okay. Oh, and Sandy says, I'm loving how it's turning out. Excellent. You know, you guys are so funny because I drag you kicking and screaming through some of this stuff, and then you tell me, oh, I love it. Guys, you gotta trust what I tell you. Okay, I'm using my Arteza Expert Turquoise A017. Maddie, this book is called Plantimals, Plantimals by RADANA PLANKA. I'm so glad you came back, Wanda. Plantimals. So Maddie says, I wouldn't have tried markers. At first I didn't like them, and now I love them. Yep. Honestly, guys, what it boils down to is either you trust me or you don't. Okay, so I've got that green. Now to find out if you can see all my comments. I can see that one. So here's my jasmine green, Red Funner, 520. Notice how I'm blending that green together. So my light green is going right over that turquoise. So I saw that one, Wanda. Now to find out if you can see all my comments. And remember, if you put in a color that looks like it's too bright for you, then go back with your darker of the two colors and mute it. Okay. So Wanda, so far all I'm seeing is now to find out if you can see all my comments. And if you're commenting now, I cannot see you. Okay, so I've got my green flash. Flash or flesh? Flash. Red Funner, 520 set. Oh yeah, Maddie, oh, there we go. Wanda, okay, maybe it's better now. Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, the blue in this picture is really nice. And now I'm going to go back over this with my turquoise. Okay, Rhonda said it's better. I think you're just missing Maddie. Nope, I'm seeing Maddie. We're good. Okay, I've got my willow bow color, Red Funner 520. And Maddie says, I'm loving this music. Good. Guys, if you love this music, this is a subscription service that I pay for. I've been given permission by the owner to play it on my broadcasts. And it's called Whisperings, Whisperings. And the charge is $30 a year. It is ridiculously cheap, and it's all piano music. Yep, It is very relaxing. Okay, now I've got a color called Chive, again from my Brett Funners. It's nothing but piano. And I finally, listen guys, I can't recommend that service enough. It's, again, nothing but piano. You can add favorites if you want. And I found some nice bird backgrounds that doesn't bother anybody. The pitch is a lot lower. So yeah, guys, 30 bucks a year. A year. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm one more piece away from finishing this. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, this color is called Calla Green, again, the Brett Funner. And I'm going to come back. So Rhonda says, between that and the tropical birds, I could almost imagine being in a hammock on a tropical island. Oh yeah. Zoom in. Well, I am so glad that I finally found a combination that works. Okay, we are done. Zoom out. Zoom out. There you go. Now, the only thing I'm going to do left on this is just some tweaks and cleanups and stuff like that, but for all intents and purposes, I'm done. What do you think? So, briefly explaining, I colored the face and the head up to this point right here with more vibrant colors, richer colors with the brown. Thank you, Maddie. I went with the lighter oranges in the back. Had a little bit of brown. I colored the roses red. because that's why I made this part in this leaf. I added a little bit of red to it. I know you guys were wondering why I did that. But I knew that I had the roses in here, so I had to add a nice point for that. I used cream color on the face. Oh my gosh, the eyes. I gotta do the eyes. And then I used the browns and the oranges to outline, and I've got, of course, this blue. Okay. I completely forgot the eyes. What color do you want me to do the eyes, guys? I'm almost thinking, I don't know yet. Thank you, Wanda. I'm glad you like it. I'm thinking a turquoise, blue, and green. I think that would be really pretty. Oh, Rhonda already said yep. Okay. Zoom in. Zoom in. Zoom in. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed doing or watching this particular coloring. A lot of techniques on it. So I'm putting my darker color at the top. And then I'm coming in with my turquoise. Oh, how pretty is that? And notice that I'm putting the turquoise over the dark blue as well. Oh, Maddie, we're glad to have you back. What's this group without Maddie? So Maddie, when you were taking all your pictures, did you use your iPhone? Now, do you guys want me to put our my cellophane highlights on here? Think about that too. You took some gorgeous pictures, Maddie. I did photography years and years ago, and your close-ups of some of those were absolutely gorgeous. Okay, guys, yes or no on the cellophane? I'm almost thinking no because of the context here. But I am going to take my black pen now and I'm going to enhance the eyes. Yeah, I don't think the cellophane in this sense would be a good idea, but I want to know what your opinion is. Oh, how pretty is that, guys? Now, I'm going to come in with a little bit of white. In the turquoise part of the eyes. And that's because we want to give it a little bit of dimension here. Oh, man, yeah. Zoom out. Zoom out. There you go. Zoom out. I'm calling this puppy done. And look how intense those eyes are. Now, one more touch. What color have I been using all night long to enhance? Zoom in. Zoom in. Now, you think those eyes look great? Watch this. Black, that's right. Look at the difference, guys, between the two before I do the second one. Do you see it? This one looks plain. This one looks like it's now got beautiful, beautiful depth, right? Zoom in. See it? And I want you to notice that I'm keeping the black around the blue area. Oh man. Zoom out now. I'm going to add just a little bit of black right here, where the artist put the shading. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Now, if that doesn't stare you down, I don't know what does. And time again, what have I always told you? The eyes make the piece. So yeah, calling this one done. I'm glad you like it. Woohoo! The only other thing that I may do is go back and enhance the whiskers a little bit. But other than that, I am very, very happy with this. And I'm glad you like it, and I hope you learned something. Okay. Let's finish getting our sailor rescued. So I've got a little bit of a darker line around his rear and his legs than I want. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white and blend that out just a little bit. And I just need to get the gray off of his rear here. His buttocks. All right. So I wanted to go ahead and play around with. Maddie and Rita said that they love this one. Okay, good. So one thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and lighten the gray that's at the top here. And so I'm using my white pencil. This gray is interfering a little more with the clouds than I want it to. And I want you to remember this, that if you have a sky that you would like to change the tone of it, your white is a very good way to do it. Now, the neat thing too about my white is that it's blending my gray as well. Oh yeah, much better. Everybody see now that we can distinguish better between the storm clouds and then the background. So we still have a gray background, which is what we want, but I just didn't want it as dark. And as you learn your coloring materials, you will find that there are zoom in, that there are several techniques that you can use to correct. And this is why I absolutely forbid you guys from throwing stuff out. Knock it off. Absolutely no reason to. Oh, much better. And then last night, or the other night, I streaked the storm clouds for you. Got a little bit of gray on my sail, but that's fine. I'll deal with my sails later. Don't forget, even with a paper towel, your stuff can still get a little smudgy. Oh yeah, that looks much better. Okay, and by no means have I finished the skin, guys. That's just placement color. Oh, and I've got to do his belt yet. Which also reminds me, I missed a little bit of his pants. Teeny tiny spot. Whoop, I lost it. Hold on. Pants, pants, pants. Yep, right there. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so I want to do her hair tonight. A kind pirate guy, yeah, who's a little beat up. Yeah, Maddie, I don't know how much of this that you saw, but I went ahead and put the bruising on him. I mean, I really bruised up his arm and then down his fingers a little bit. Bloody bandage, bloody dirty bandage. Okay, so let's go ahead and work with a blondish mermaid. He had to fight his way to her, that's right. Well, with that ship sinking in the background, he had quite a battle, didn't he? Now, you guys know that when I do blondes, I like to start off with my base color, which is my yellowish. This is called Empire Yellow, brought Funner. Yeah, and now she rescues them. So does anyone have any thoughts about why I'm making her hair blonde? Think about the context of the story that's going on here. Okay, that's another issue. Purple is yellow contrast. She is his bright spot. Bingo. That's it, Maddie. So when you color, I want you to think about subtleties like that. Now remember, this is my story that I'm putting together here. So that by no means means that you have to make her hair blonde, right? But for the way that I'm doing this story is, yes, she is his bright spot. You got to remember, I've got very dark colors for the sky. So really, there was no way that I could make her hair black, right? So within the context of the story, yes, she is his bright spot. And as Rhonda pointed out, let's see who said this. No, as Maddie pointed out, purple is the contrast color. Brown would be dull. That's right. And guys, if you really want to up your coloring, like bloody hair, I'm sorry, red would clash with purple. What do you mean by bloody hair? Oh, red hair. Yeah, red hair wouldn't work. That's right. And again, these are subtleties that I want to see in your colorings. And anybody looking at this, they're not going to consciously realize that that's what you've done, but subconsciously they're going to see it. And if you want people to like your pieces, these are the types of things you need to think about. And that's why I say to you, please, please, please think about the story that your piece is telling. Okay. One thing that will help you in your coloring is if you look up the psychological effects that colors have on people. And this will help you convey a mood. For example, the NFL teams use this to their advantage, and that's why locker rooms are a certain color. Yeah, that's not going to show. So you go to Google and you say things like, what are considered happy colors? And that will start to give you ideas as to how to color your piece. Trust me, there is a huge, huge psychology to coloring. And we've got some waves down here that I totally missed. So Maddie says warm colors are happy to me and blue skies. Yeah, and that's another thing that you should look into. There used to be years ago where they would figure out, I don't know if they still do it, but what your colors are, whether you are, quote, warm or summer or fall, cool colors, da-da-da-da-da-da. For example, purples look really good on me. And also don't forget that if you are having questions about what colors go with what, you might want to, you can put in a question, what colors look good with red? Start using Google, guys. Okay, so I've got that whited out now for future. I just want that to be drying. Had that thought occurred to you guys? Both about the psychology of colors and also saying things like what colors go with orange, what colors go with purple. So Maddie says, I'm a fall, green, burnt orange, brown, deep yellow, and wine. There you go. So you said that you don't think much about it. I'm a mood colorist. What's your mood? Okay. Well, I understand that. But what you might want to do is, you know, let's say you're in a dark mood and you're starting with darker colors. That's where I would then start asking what colors go with such and such. Okay. Oh, it's wonderful to have Maddie back. Zoom out. Zoom out. Oop, gonna go twice. Okay. We've got our yellow. Blaring yellow. Oh, yowza. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it like that. Blue and orange, yellow and purple, green and red, yep. Oh, that music is pretty. Da, 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 da. Okay, now I'm going to use a Guang Hai, which is a ridiculously cheap pencil. This is color 155, and it's a brownish gold. Zoom in. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking this light bulb yellow and I'm now going to tamp it down with this gold. So Maddie says my eye follows those colors. You have a blue hat and orangey look vertical, then purple and yellow horizontal. Yep. Now, you'll hear people talk about what your focal point is of your coloring. And on this one, that's a little hard to define. I knew what you meant. Boot, boot, boot. The focal point is a little bit hard to define, other than to say that I want the pirate and the mermaid to be front and center, because that's what's going on right now. Now, the trick is we need to have some compatibility between our mermaid and our sailor color-wise. So you will notice that the colors that I'm using, and especially since now I'm using the brown and the gold for her hair, is that's picking up the colors in his boot and also on his shirt. And as you can see, I already picked up colors that I had, the purples and the reds, to pick up the reds and the purples that I had on his shirt. So everything is working together beautifully here. And this is where when you color, when you have colors in mind, so let's say that you colored the sailor first, which is what I did, and you had it in your heart to, for example, make red hair with her. That's where you need to really look at what you're doing, and you may have to change. Now, you may be wondering why I'm not doing any detail with this brown. Right now, I'm just tamping down the hair color. Now, we're going to run past time, so just letting you know. Whoop. So I'm going over the entire hair color. I'm not even worried yet about highlights or depth or dimension. I'm working with my basic colors. And I also want you to see in this case that the yellow is working beautifully with the gold. And the color that we're making right here is unique to pencils. In other words, this is not really a pencil color that you're necessarily going to find. And the other thing is when you're coloring, just because you're human, you're not necessarily keeping the same pressure on everything. So that means that some of your spots are coming up a little bit lighter or a little bit darker within the context of the hair. And I've talked about this before, that when you go to the beautician to get your hair colored, a good beautician will put in several highlights. All right, let me sharpen. Oh, how pretty is that? Okay. Zoom out. And what I want you to notice, Maddie already brought it up, but we've got the browns, the yellows, got the brown in the shirt. We have the brown and the yellow in the boot. So it's complementing each other. Different, but complementing. And notice also that as I'm going through, I may darken some curls already. With my gold. So I'm already adding some of this texture. Okay. Okie doke. Oh, missed some areas. Hold on. All right. Now, the next time that you're around a blonde person, or better yet, go to Google and Google blonde hair. And I want you to look at the different shades. That's how I came about my style for coloring blonde hair. And save the pictures to your camera roll. Okay, so let's see what this does here. Okay. So this is my Guang Hai 150. I've used this before. I'll pull in a second so you can see this. Now, when you add brown to yellow, you get what? Gold. And what I don't want you to worry about, zoom in. Zoom in. What I don't want you to worry about now is putting another color on top of a previous one and having it disappear. So now what I'm doing is anytime there's a curl, like right here, I'm going to color up to that curl with my slightly darker color. Skip over it and then continue down the other side. So what you're starting to see now is, now we could go a little bit more blondish with this if we want, but I want this goldish brown because of his outfit. Now notice where this hair is going on top of hair here, is I'm going ahead and I'm darkening the area underneath that. And the way I do that is repeated stroking, right? Same up here, where I've got this curl on top of the hair coming down this way. Zoom in. So anywhere that you have hair on top of other hair, this is where you want to shade just a little bit. And also notice, see this area right here? See that area right there? That's where you want to skip with your brown. Maddie, there's what again? This is Christine Brown. It's the Fur Elise. Okay, now on this other side, I need to find out where my dark spots would be. obviously under her chin. Yeah, no, like I said, this is Christine Brown. And anywhere where the hair is higher, that's where you want to skip with your brown so that you have that shine. Zoom out. Yeah, she is excellent. Yep, she did change the song. Yeah, if you like this piano, like I said, it's Whisperings, Whisperings, 30 bucks for the year. Okay, now, see this area of hair right here that is on top of everything else? So now I'm going through and I'm coloring darker on either side. And now you can, oh, there's thousands of them, Maddie. Some of them are compositions by artists themselves. So in other words, it's not necessarily all classical, for example. These people write their own songs. Tons of different artists. Yes, yes, ma'am. Wide range. And then the app on this for the Whisperings, which is what I have, you can either favorite the song or favorite the artist. So if you hear an artist that you really like their style, you can go ahead and favorite that. And it'll cycle that in a little bit more. And if you don't like a song, you can skip it. Or a tune, I should say. Okay, everybody see how this hair now is coming together. Zoom out. So I've got the darker browns underneath. And notice at the bottom how I'm looking for the darker strands that are covered up. Isn't that hair beautiful? Zoom out. Questions, comments? There you go. Now this tune that's being played now, for example, it's not a naturally nationally recognized tune. This is a composition that the artist put together. Okay, now I'm going to darken the hair that's right underneath here. Questions, comments? And if you still feel that that's a little too much yellow yet, you can take the side of your pencil and just go over it a little bit. There you go. Now, wouldn't you call her yeah, you're gonna see if it's compatible with Alexa Dot. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about what I did with the hair? So if you were to look at this hair and I hadn't told you that I had intended it to be blonde, does that look blonde to you? Now, I can tell that I'm really reaching my limit here on my pencils and what I can put on here because I'm starting to get wax bloom. So I really can't put much more on there. But I'm happy with the way it is. Okay, so lightness, darkness, lightness in the front, dark in the back. I have a little bit of C that I missed here, so I'll do that. And guys, I don't want you to fuss over your blonde hair. You can practice on a piece. So it's your base yellow color. Now, your base yellow color is going to determine how blonde you're going to go. So if you put a light yellow on the hair, you'll have a lighter blonde. If you put a more vibrant yellow, like I did, as your base color, and then start adding on top of that your light brown and then your shading color, this is what you're going to end up with. Hello, Maribel. So I wanted to show you how I do her hair. I'll go ahead and off camera, I'll color in this little bit of wave here that I missed earlier. And then we'll have fun with doing the mermaid. And then I'll be doing the skin. Because remember, the skin, it just textured in the colors. All right, questions, comments? And again, you may not be excited about my colors, that's fine. I just want to show you the technique. So we got our tiger done. We've got our piercing blue eyes. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'll take my Arteza white pen and put in a little bit of the white. There we go. And I'm sure, and I can't say this enough, I'm sure that as I was doing this, this was not necessarily thrilling you and you didn't really realize how vibrant this would be. And then I taught you how to do the shading on the roses. So yeah, lots of neat stuff on this one. And those eyes, again, when you're doing a piece, your eyes are your major thing. And then I worked on our bird a little bit. I've got shading to do on this. Added a little bit of straw inside, showed you how to shade the box. And then I'll go ahead and I'll have the darker blue on top, darker blue on the bottom, and that's going to give dimension to this. And then we've got our, oh, I wanted to show you, I colored a little more on this piece. I need to smooth out my ducks a little bit, but I got those done. Got my other gray done. Need to do the roof. I'll probably do that in a vibrant red. I think that would look pretty. I got my tree done in the background here. And then our pirate. I'm happy with it. It only took me 3 tries, but 3 broadcasts, but we got her done. All right, guys, love ya. This is ILene Vick for Teaching Adult Coloring with ILene Vick. Guys, joyous, joyous coloring. I love you guys. Please share this broadcast. I keep forgetting to tell you in the beginning. Share it to your timeline. Oh, that hair looks pretty. All right, guys, take care. Love ya. Bye.